Sometimes I just want to be little, miniature really, so that I can enjoy a train ride in a fantasy world. Today, my guest is a train set hobby enthusiast that will take us where no one has gone before. Stay with me. Meet Norm Jurgen, a passionate model railroader and a train set aficionado. His love for miniature world has taken him to a new dimension, from real life to tiny life, and it has become part of his life and my life too. Hi, Norm.
Hi, Stella. Thanks for having me.
You know, this is great to have you in Stella's studio. I'm so happy that you came.
Oh, I'm really happy to be here.
I know today we're going to get a treat and a nice little tour to your train set. Isn't that true?
Oh, yes. I hope you enjoy it immensely.
So this is awesome. When did you start loving trains like this?
Well, it's really interesting. I must have started when I was 7, and I can remember quite well being in the basement, playing with my trains, building scenery, wiring, running the train back and forth. I did it for countless hours.
It was a passion of yours.
Oh, immensely so.
You know, did you ever think that from that tiny little space you grew up to every time bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger?
It created some neat dreams for me because as I got older, I imagined what I could create. And so that was inspiration because it brought really great times for me, and I wanted to relive that as I became an adult. You know, I'm very proud of myself that I accomplished all of this. It's a huge train set. Words can't describe how much effort went into it, but I'm really, really impressed with it. It's going to be a lot of fun to play with.
That is so awesome. I can't wait to go on a train ride with you.
Well, come on board. I'm going to take you there.
So if someone wants to start a train set, where do they start?
First of all, try and find a local train show. Here in the Greater Toronto area, there's 2 I recommend. Go up to Brampton, to the fairgrounds in October, and go to the Toronto Train Show. It is full of vendors, different sized train sets, working displays, meet people, discuss, and find out what interests you. Also, 3 times a year, if you drive out to Woodstock, you'll see a fabulous event. It is well attended, and you'll get great ideas, and even can pick up things.
So many vendors, right? But you also can go to stores.
That's true. So once you've got a flavor of what you like, then you can visit your local store.
So once you did your little bit of research and you decide what gauge to buy, then you set it up somewhere so you can give it a try and see if you like it?
I did. I started a couple ways. First of all, I took my layout and I lay it out on the floor to see how it fit the space. This was great because then I could imagine a little better what I wanted. Then, because I wanted to maximize the use of the room, I actually lay paper down and traced the outside of the rail to see how big a table I could make. I measured it, and then that allowed me to actually plan the whole train set. Oh, hi, it's Norm. I'm working on my train set. I started with a nice layout like this and planned it all out. Of course, when you lay it out on the wood and you have the actual dimensions, you have to make a few adjustments. And so I'm playing with some small pieces right now to try and fit it into the space. So it may take me a couple hours, but I'll figure it out and space everything out perfectly.
So is there a software that people can buy to design their train set?
I personally prefer RR number 4. What it allows you to do is you choose your manufacturer and they have a list of all the track sizes available. And then you can drag and drop and actually create your layout on a computer like an architect.
Oh, neat.
Oh, it's exciting.
You can see your layout before you actually make it?
Even in 3D.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
as you're designing things, you can start to add sidings, different levels. You can expand and change, and you can keep doing that until you're fully satisfied. At the end, it tells you what tracks you need and also buildings and scenery, and then you can run off to the local store and start to make those purchases.
Now, did you encounter any challenges as you were building your train set?
Oh my goodness. Did I
headaches
ever.
like, wow, this is not working, I'm crying.
Some very frustrating, in fact. Okay, so I have a particular train that works on an AM radio frequency. And I decided to challenge myself by having 1, 2, and then 3 levels. The problem is, the top train has a radio signal that goes on the outer curve, and it interferes with the trains below, causing them to stop. There's a solution though, and it only applies to Lionel train sets. It's to get sheet metal from your local hardware store, put it on the tracks above, and then attach that to your house ground. Through some experimentation, late nights, a bit of hair pulling, I put the sheet metal in the right spot, cut myself, so you had to wear pretty thick gloves, and then the trains ran well.
When you build these fantasy world and scenes, what materials do you use?
Well, Stella, it's like building a house. The first thing you need is a solid foundation. Most people start with a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and they think of big solid legs for support and wood to make the frame of a table. But what you have to keep in mind is you're going to be like Godzilla, climbing on top of this table, and it has to support your full weight. So after the table's created, then you're going to start to invest in styrofoam, lots and lots of plaster, wiring. My layout has kilometers of wiring and so much power.
Can we go shopping?
Yeah, we can go shopping.
For train supplies.
If you want.
I made your day, didn't I?
I think so. There is a great store, and it's local to the Toronto area. And I've been going there for 24 years. So I'm very happy to say, if you're starting a train set, head to the Credit Valley Railway.
In Mississauga?
It's in Mississauga,
Awesome.
near the 401 in Winston Churchill. Perfect for supplies. And it's great for those that want to start a very common layout, such as HO. But I decided to do something different.
Always the difficult part.
Of course, yes. I decided to go O scale, which is much larger and easier for those with glasses. And the problem was the supplies were mostly in the States. So this made for excellent opportunities to go on a road trip down to places like Oberlin, Ohio.
I like road trips.
They were fun, yes. So we went to Oberlin, Ohio to see a great store called Stockyard Trains. Then there's Nicholas Smith Trains in southern Pennsylvania. And Scranton, Pennsylvania has a great store called Garabowski.
So what about the people and the buildings? Where do you get those?
Well, the people, are readily available in most train stores. I like to get those from Woodland Scenics. They're very realistic. There's also a great store that you can buy things online called Scenic Express.
Oh, cool.
And they're great for the time period. And finally, I found a gentleman in the States who actually makes pewter die-cast people. Very realistic.
Any size you want or just one
And
scale?
he'll create custom orders too,
Cool.
and hand painting them. They're beautiful additions to the train set.
You just told us you have a O scale train.
That's right.
Are there any other scales?
There are, and I've actually worked with those too. So if you're a garden enthusiast, G scale is great. It's 1/25th scale.
Okay.
And it looks wonderful around petunias,
The garden, yeah.
ferns.
It's a beautiful entertainment for the summer when people sit around having a barbecue and next thing you know, the train brings you drinks.
And children like it too. There's O scale, which is
Yeah.
1/43rd, which is mine. There's a hard scale to find. It's S scale. It's American Flyer.
I'm S scale, I'm Stella scale.
True.
Is it good? No?
And there's the most popular scale, which is readily available in all hobby stores. That's HO. And if you're tight on space, your house is a little smaller, and definitely mine was at one time too, you're going to dabble with N scale. It's also a little more affordable. And finally, for those who are ultra rich and like to have one in their briefcase or their coffee table,
Do you think I could have a train in here?
it might need to be a little bigger,
bigger?
but it's called Z scale.
Okay. So I know you told us about the buildings and where you buy them, but I know there's some specialties and some of them are from different places. Where are they from?
Well, when you want to buy buildings and scenery, you're not just restricted to your local train store. Nowadays, you can buy lots of things online. And so I've been fortunate to get buildings from Ottawa and Pennsylvania, California, but my favorite actually comes from Las Vegas. It's a haunted house.
Oh, cool. I like that. And what about the scenics, like the trees and the grasses? Where do you get those from?
Well, one thing to keep in mind when you add scenery, try to avoid taking things from your garden because bugs will like them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I recommend using artificial sponges, grasses, resins. There's lots available in hobby stores.
They're actually made with the right scales and you can buy those.
That's right. They actually look like miniature trees.
Cool. You have some friends that help you to put the train together? Or how did that work out?
Well, it was really interesting, in fact. One day I wanted to expand my circle of friends and I posted an ad in the Credit Valley Railway. Sure enough, I had lots of people call me. And
I love trains. I love trains. Let's call Norm.
it was a great response. And so one friend, his name is Owen, he and I became great friends. And now he actually worked for VIA. And he was a great source of inspiration and knowledge.
That's helpful.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he explained to me that trains actually need a purpose. They have to go and deliver freight and cargo from point A to B and sometimes C to D. And then when it comes to passengers, you need passenger stations. And they actually have to go around and see things of interest, like Santa's Village, or the local antique car show, or to the market. all very important
Cool.
things.
I'm taking the train to the market.
Okay, we can go together.
There are also some really cool places that I think you were inspired by.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm actually a really big fan of Drumheller, Alberta, which has a fantastic dinosaur museum. And what's neat about that town is when you actually go through the town, you start to see dinosaurs everywhere, next to the hotels and the stores. So I had this great idea that I would try and recreate that look.
The dinosaur?
Yeah, they're big.
They're big. Wow.
And scary with teeth.
Oh no, I'm too scared now.
Don't be worried.
Okay.
I'm here to protect you.
Norm's here.
So what I did was I recreated a grocery store, and on the roof, very Toronto-like, I put a raptor.
Neato.
And then overlooking the parking lot, a T-Rex. Of course, people would come to admire these dinosaurs, and they became a tourist attraction. So thank you, Drumheller, for doing that. In the background, of course, I have oil rigs and workers and all sorts of things.
You also have the antique car show.
I do, and it's very popular with the tourists. In fact, the train station brings a lot of people to see it.
That is very cool. Now, I know also that another person helped you with the train, and that was Noel.
Oh, yes, I must
The foundation.
I must thank Noel. Noel Quinn is a carpenter who had built 2 of my basements. The whole purpose, of course, in finishing the basement was to build a big train set. And so I enlisted his help to make this massive layout, 18 by 16 feet. And I gave him the drawings and the design, and he constructed it to my specifications.
So he was a really good helper to start with, a nice, very solid table.
Oh, absolutely. Because it has to support your weight, that's important. But mostly, when you decide to go beyond a simple 4x8 sheet of plywood, you want a professional to construct it right.
Right. Now, are train sets to be designed for a certain era?
Yes, actually. Most train sets take their inspiration from the 1950s to the 1960s. That's when the steam era is starting to end and diesels are coming into fruition. However, I decided to do things differently. I grew up in the late 1970s, so I wanted to make sure there were muscle cars like the Trans Am and the GTO, and I wanted to include my favorite time period, Halloween. So I have trick-or-treaters, and I also have a wedding happening nearby, making it difficult for people to go to stores because everyone's having a good time.
We all love weddings, don't we?
We do. That brings to mind the one wedding that created a bit of alarm.
Ooh, what was that?
Well, behind the church, there's what I call the shotgun wedding. Yes, under duress, this young couple are getting married with their very scowling father watching. It happens. But in the front of the cathedral is a festive event, complete with well-wishers, a young bride being whisked into the typical classic convertible Mercedes, and lots of photographers.
Cool. So if you have a space in your basement and you want to make a train set, how big can you make it?
Oh.
You need some room around it, or it can just go all the way to the wall, or?
Well, it's interesting. It forces you to stay skinny if you
yeah.
make it as big as possible.
It's like doing yoga on the train set, isn't it, sometimes too?
It can be quite challenging as you go like Godzilla, stepping between buildings. My recommendation is make a train set to your budget, but try and maximize as much space as you can. That way, you're going to get the most enjoyment out of it.
You can also do different levels.
You
and have
can
the
do
trains
different levels.
Up and down.
But a word of caution, don't put the train set up to a wall because you'll never be able to access that point. It'll be very difficult. So make sure access is easy all around. Depending on the size of home that you have, you might want a really large scale or a small scale, but on average, most people do HO. It seems to be fitting most people's spaces, and it's readily available. If your home's a little smaller and you have younger children and you don't want to go overboard in your budget, consider N scale.
Usually we see the Christmas tree and the train going around in a circle. What gauge is that?
That's usually Lionel, or it's the garden scale,
The
G.
garden scale.
That's right.
Okay, that's cool. Seniors love to build trains, and they've been doing that for many years. But is it something that maybe the young generation would love too?
Oh, millennials actually like trains.
They love it?
They do, because you can now run trains using your Bluetooth smartphone.
I can.
And for those who want to
With
have
my
a
phone?
oh yes, and
I can run a train from here on my phone, and it keeps running around in circles in the house.
oh, more than that, Stella. More
Really?
than that. Oh yes. Now with your phone, not only can you make your train go one direction and forward and reverse, you can make it talk to you. You can make it whistle. You can have the engineer.
Can you whistle like?
Probably not appropriate for today, but
That's funny. But it has all the bells and whistles that train would do. Even I could control it with my phone.
you can. You can have the crew even talk back to you and say they're ready to go.
There must be some sources for people to look into and find out more about trains besides stores and shows, right?
Well, yes, the obvious choice is to visit your local train store and capture or bring home some books of model railroading.
Yeah, magazines. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
I
Model
like
Railroader
magazines.
is a great example. There's the Trains magazine and my favorite, Classic Toy Trains. But speaking of millennials and the internet,
Yes.
everything is now online, Stella. So it's perfect because if you're thinking of going into trains and you want to know how to do things, you can simply go to YouTube.
And you have a lot of how to do videos on YouTube, don't you?
I do actually.
Yeah.
My most popular video is how to make a multi-level train set has had over 40,000 views.
I can learn how to make a train set by now because I've seen so many train sets.
There's also other videos that I posted and people like them a lot. How to paint scenery.
I like how to paint.
Yes, you could probably do a good job.
But you are an artist of your own kind because you make everything 3D and when you build the rocks, they actually look like rocks. They look so real.
It's come with practice.
Right?
It's come with a lot of practice. And I do
You
have
just
a
learn
process.
by yourself?
No, actually, Woodland Scenics has some great explanations how to do it, but with practice, I actually created my own formula and posted those online for people to see.
Okay, so if you would like to see some of Norm's trains or how to do videos, you can go to YouTube
Oh, absolutely.
/user/17 designs, and then you can see Norm and how he makes all the beautiful scenery.
On top of that, if you have a question, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to help anyone.
That is so much fun. Well, this is amazing and great information. And if you have a huge basement, you can also call Norm. So Norm, how do you feel when people come over and they enjoy your train set and you show them how it runs?
Oh, I'm very rewarded and thankful. It's a great experience when people enjoy my hobby, and not only that, they can imagine themselves in those situations, traveling from place to place. So the response is always positive.
And would you like to build train sets for other people?
Oh, sure, that'd be great. My ideal person would be someone with a big, big dream, wanting the most massive set possible. Thank you everyone for coming and joining us for Christmas to celebrate the season. We really appreciate you coming here. Seeing the hard work and effort and sweat and a little bit of blood every now and then, and pain and ouch. So thank you for sharing this excitement with us. And we now say it's officially open.
Jurgen Station.
Thank you for putting up with me.
So, going to somebody else, I like to is there some of the classic match with the recording? For the 10th or oh, yeah.
I thought you were kidding about the train.
No,
I thought it was just part of the
like a small little thing. No.
I didn't actually think you were talking about the train. I thought it was just kind of part of the speech.
I know there are some train shows coming up soon, and if you would like to attend one of these, when are they coming?
There's a great one in Woodstock. It's on January 5th. And then there's a very popular event, and it's actually their 50th anniversary. It's in Barrie, Allendale, and it's on February 15th and 16th. I recommend going to that one early. The crowds are enormous, yes. And finally, on March 8th, and I believe on the 17th as well, there's the Kitchener Model Train Show. But if you're not sure about the dates, because sometimes they change and sometimes on short notice, you might want to select or visit collectorshow.ca.
Great. If you would love to get in touch with Norm, I have some questions about your train set or want to start a new one, you can always contact him at norm@17designs.com and also watch his videos on YouTube under the 17 Designs channel. Thank you, Norm.
Thank you, Stella. It was great being here.
Now I think I'm gonna go for a ride.
Yes, let's go.
When the real world gets tough, we rather escape to a miniature world with Norm. Be inspired by Stella's studio and see you next week after I take a trip to the Funland with Norm's trains. Bye!